Holla. Well, let me do this. Well, that happened. Greetings, faculty, staff, President Liebergott, Board of Trustees, and distinguished guests. Thank you all for participating in this smashing good time. I'd like to thank my family, of course, especially for bankrolling this venture called a college education. And I'd like to thank my fiancée, who kept me focused on the world beyond college. I can only hope you end up with someone like her in your life. I'd also like to thank my colleagues at Sonco, the one true reality. Thank you. Nervous yet? Look at what you've gotten yourselves into. 4 years of college, and now you're sitting here looking at me, and I'm looking back at you, pretending to be wiser about what lies ahead. It's a funny thing. As a freshman, I was standing in line at financial services when I overheard a joke. A guy, I think a graduating senior, was going down the elevator, and as the doors closed in front of him, he said, and I remember this almost to the word, "Dude, Emerson is like hooked on phonics graduate school." I chuckled too, but the comment left me feeling a bit uneasy. Was this quirky little place indeed a joke? Punchline fodder? I'm here with your answer. No, it isn't. Emerson is far from a joke. I guarantee it. I tried to track down that guy on the elevator while I was writing this speech, but he was too wrapped up in video games and being unemployed to come answer the door. The point is, Emerson is what you made of it. It was up to you to get your money's worth. You paid to come and be around the smart people. If you didn't leave smarter, whose fault is it? I've learned that at this college, you're not always able to get what you want, but you're always able to get what you need. Emerson is a place where people come to give their fantasies a shot. It channels their ambitions. If they use Emerson right, they leave with a very clear idea of how to get to the top of that mountain and what they have to do next. Sometimes they do it. A friend of mine who finished classes in December has spent much of his time driving around Los Angeles doing errands for a TV crew, hoping one day someone may actually let him touch the editing equipment. He's doing it. Others don't do it. Others make cryptic remarks within earshot of impressionable underclassmen in the line at financial services. If I can impart any advice to you today, it's this: be the one to do it. Obscurity is forever. Avoid people who spend their time justifying their underachievement. Now, there are some conventions to a speech like this. I know, for example, that I ought to comment about what happened in the world over the last 4 years and the type of world we're about to enter and the impact we can make as communicators and artists. Oh, and innovators, and of course, evolutionists who believe expression is necessary. You know, I'm fortunate in that I won't need to stretch how tragic, victorious, and unusual these last 4 years have been. You've heard it already. You remember what happened our first week here. While I was caught up in the melodrama of my first year of college, the deadliest attack in the history of the United States took place, and the planes departed some 4 miles from where I was living in the little building. That gave me a chill, the depth of which I haven't felt since. But I'm quite sure we all bounced back. September 11th, 2001 was the least mundane day of our entire lives, and it was so pertinent. Remember the looks in people's eyes that day and the days following, and how everyone seemed heroic simply by carrying on. I'll bet you find some success if you try to depict that part of humanity in your work, whether it be in print, film, television, or art. That's how we all collectively can make a difference, after all, rise to the challenge and act as a nexus when stories begin telling themselves. As a journalist myself, I would ask that journalism majors in the audience try to emulate the type of work done on that day and the weeks following. Journalists, while the public despises you most of the time, never forget how valued you were at a time when it really counted. Journalism always matters when things that really matter are happening. The rest of the time, I'm afraid, is spent trying to make things that don't matter, matter. Huh? What else in these past 48 months? There was and still is a war going on. Here's something to think about. I was waiting in traffic somewhere in Boston with my windows down, and this gentleman, dressed to the nines, approached my car. He was selling an anti-war newspaper called The Final Call. When he got to my window, I told him I wasn't interested. He said with a wide smile, "You've just been drafted. Check it out." There was a papal conclave, record snowfall. This great city was the home base of a failed but dramatic presidential campaign. It was also the home of uncanny sports victories. For locals like myself, sometimes referred to as the townies that made it to college, the Red Sox winning the World Series turned reality on its head. That moment, like many of our experiences here, occupies a place outside of our ability to describe. For all we learned about the art of communication, it is crucial to remember when mere words do nothing but cheapen the very thing we're trying to describe. German poet Rainer Maria Rilke put it best in a letter to a puzzled young poet. He said, quote, "Things aren't all so tangible and sayable as people would usually have us believe. Most experiences are unsayable. They happen in a space where no word has ever entered." Just think, how hard is it to find words that will explain the death of a fellow Emerson student under perplexing circumstances after a classic ball game? And the feeling a student of Al Hankins gets when he or she remembers that a cornerstone of Emerson College didn't get to decide when he wanted to leave. Thank God John Coffey did. But it's not as if communication and language have atrophied over the past 4 years. No, quite the opposite. In fact, we've added new words to the lexicon, haven't we? Courtesy of the Indiana Pacers NBA franchise, we have a brand new verb. And if you don't laugh at my next joke, I'm liable to Ron Artest this audience. Oh, and another verb, heart, as in I heart Huckabees or I heart Cheyenne, Wyoming. New noun, wardrobe malfunction. New adjective, crunk. I applaud these developments. Language is all we have. Take care of it by keeping it fresh. It may seem that after all this, you still have no clue how to conduct yourself on planet Earth. You don't have school to orient your lives anymore. Suddenly, there's no one filling in your planner for you. You've got to fill it. If this scares you, if it raises questions you can't answer, recall another quote from Rilke. Live your questions now, and perhaps even without knowing it, you will live along some distant day into your answers. If you're insecure about your abilities, recall this George Carlin quote. Most people aren't particularly good at anything. And if you're concerned about money, you should be. You probably owe a lot of it. So get paid, please. Starving artists are such a cliche. But also take solace in the fact that the valedictorian doesn't have much of a job when he walks out of here either. I can guarantee, there goes that word again, that you will all do great things. Trust me. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Thank you very much, and holla at your boy.